Welcome to What's Your St. John's Story, a 30-minute segment sponsored by St. John's United, highlighting connectivity within our community through storytelling. I am Rachel Simonson with the St. John's Foundation, and today we're talking about the Aeroponic Education Center, which is going to be located in Gainan Commons at St. John's United, right across the street from the Lincoln Center in downtown Billings. And my guests today are Bo Bruinsma, who is the Career Outreach Director at School District 2, and Hayden Trost, who is a student at West High and is helping us get the greenhouse launched. So some of you may remember Gainan's, the Floral Center retail shop downtown, and what a beautiful greenhouse space that they had there. Well, St. John's acquired the Gainan's building a couple of years ago through a gift from the family, and the greenhouse still exists. And rather than tear it down, we have decided to make use of that space. And so today I'm going to ask Bo and Hayden to tell you a little bit more about that project and what to expect. So Bo, tell us a little bit about the connection with St. John's and School District 2.
Yeah, so this project is years in the making. So St. John's United has been a partner for School District 2 for a long time. Even before I got into my position with the school district, St. John's United provided a CNA instructor for our Career Center program, so they've been very involved with that, being able to offer CNA certification for students at the Career Center here in Billings Public Schools. They've grown that to offering a nursing apprenticeship fellowship program, which a lot of our students have access to and have benefited from. And this is in I believe, the third cohort that they have. And so students basically have a path to a nursing apprenticeship, through a nursing apprenticeship to an RN or an LPN license or degree. And so they've been a partner that we've worked with a lot in the past. And so like you said, they purchased the Gainan Commons building down here, located across the street from Lincoln Center, been a partner with us for a long time, and they just approached us and they said, hey, we've got this greenhouse that's a part of this property that we purchased. What can we do with it? How can we get involved with the schools? How can we get students on here? Basically, what are your guys' thoughts on how this might work? So we just started going through how does it work? What age group? What type of students would it make sense to have access? What are new programs that we can do? And after, over a year now, we've done we've had some ideas about how to use it. We went to Pennsylvania and actually looked at a partnership very similar to this between a school district and a long-term care provider that has a community very similar to what St. John's has. And we saw that and we came back and said, okay, let's figure out the details. Let's figure out how this works. So it basically became it's kind of dovetailing off of the idea that they had, where there's intergenerational interaction between residents of St. John's as a recreational activity, growing produce that it will feed the residents that are in the various properties that St. John's owns. And then there will be students who are learning about the growing process, basically working alongside those elders at the greenhouse. So we've got, that's kind of the idea, where the idea came from. They've been a partner for a long time. It's perfectly located near our administration buildings and centrally located downtown to make it easier for all schools to access. So we've got some ideas about some students that we're going to start with there. But basically, students elementary age, middle school, high school, there'll be certain opportunities throughout the school year and throughout their education in Billings Public Schools that they will have to access the Aeroponic Education Center. And then St. John's obviously is their side of it is they're providing recreational activities and just different things to do, where they're helping grow produce that is feeding themselves and the other residents there. It's just kind of a really cool idea and a project that's kind of coming to fruition now.
Nice synergy between the two organizations, absolutely. And we'll come back and we'll talk more about that in just a minute, but I'd like to give Hayden a chance to introduce herself. And Hayden, this is part of a Platinum project. Would you tell us a little bit about who you are, what a Platinum project is, and how does the Aeroponic Education Center fit into that?
Right, so I'm a junior at Billings West High School, and I started this project about my freshman year. So the Platinum Project is a 4-year extracurricular project that's run throughout all of the school district, and it's basically to advance your education in a certain area that you choose. So I chose to work on aeroponic growing and connections between older generations and younger generations. And so I got on with this project through St. John's in the school district, and I said, I want to be here and I want to help create this greenhouse.
So what specifically have you been doing? Because I understand one of the people who is spearheading the project on our end kind of thinks of you as a mini architect. She's talked about the structure of the greenhouse being off the grid, and that you've been really instrumental in researching that. Tell us a little bit more about what that means.
Right, so I'm hoping that this greenhouse can use collected rainwater as well as solar energy to run all the aeroponic towers. And so I've been working with a bunch of people here in Billings to make that happen. And so that includes doing research and reaching out and building connections and figuring out how we can make this possible.
And that's quite a project to run off the grid, which means it really will be cost neutral for St. John's and the school district. There won't be any invested cost for running the place, which is really great. And tell a little bit about what is aeroponics? Which one of you would like to talk about how that works?
I think I'll let the Platinum students do that.
So another part of my Platinum project was researching what kind of growing we would be doing. Because initially it wasn't an aeroponic greenhouse. Initially it was going to be a hydroponic greenhouse. So a hydroponics is basically where the plants grow through running water channels. But aeroponics, they grow vertically in these towers. And the water mists down through the towers to provide the plant's roots with nutrients and water. And so it's a soilless process. There's no soil involved. The seeds are instead planted in a type of growing medium, typically rock wool, and the pods are then placed into these towers where they'll grow until they're ready to be harvested.
Well, when I saw the visuals about the towers, I imagined like in The Martian or any other space sci-fi program that you would see large columns, essentially, with little plants sticking out here and there around the column. Is that what's...
Yeah, so it's a very modern process, and it allows for more plants to be grown in a space because they're growing vertically. And it's also a great educational process because it's different than your standard growing.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're all kind of used to the idea of what hydroponics is. We've got examples of that in our community, Special K Ranch and Swanky Roots and those sorts of places. So how large will the produce get, and what kinds of produce are you going to be growing?
Right, so you can grow pretty much any type of root plant, and so the most typical are all the kinds of lettuces, different herbs. People can even grow tomatoes in hydroponic towers, and so, or in aeroponic towers, excuse me. And so there's a lot more diversity in these towers.
All right. One of you, I'd like you to talk about how you see the students interacting with the residents from St. John's. The residents will actually be volunteers, but what do you see happening with that?
Yeah, so we've got a couple different levels that, like I said, we're thinking about. So down to the elementary school students, we're thinking as a part of, an extension of the science and some of the early biology and things like that, that there's ways to be taking field trips down there where it might look like, hey, an elementary school has a specific column that they're going to get to watch, plant and then grow, throughout this semester. And so they get to see, the fruits of their, this is how it starts, this is the plant, this is the tower, you get to see that progression. It could look a little bit different, but that's kind of the idea, is that maybe those younger students would, we get a large number of them on there, once or twice a year. For our middle school, all of our middle school tech ed programs, all of our middle schools have greenhouses, so they're doing some type of growing in there. I'm not aware if there's any aeroponic growing, because you can do it at home on a small tower yourself. There are people that I'm sure in the community that have been onto this for a while and have something like that going, but it's just, again, an extra educational opportunity for them to see, a couple times a semester or in their own greenhouse really start to do those types of things. And so for the middle school students, I think it fits best with tech ed. And then for the high school students, we have an agriculture program at the Career Center where We have 2 greenhouses out there. I think for those students, same interaction where they could be on there a couple times a year, but also for that student that really thinks like, hey, I'm interested in some type of nursery, growing, greenhouse type of career, and I want to explore that. There might be some opportunities for them to go down there for part of their, say, their senior year, receive credit as, a person who's down there almost every day helping, as well as, again, some of those. So I see it as the education center is going to be a work-based learning opportunity for students all ages in SJU, and there's going to be multiple junctures in your process that you might interact with it. And as you get older and as there's more interest and more opportunities, you might increase the amount of time that you're there. I do want to mention too, we are looking at some of our special ed programs. We have a greenhouse that's being built that's mobile out at West High right now that we'd like to try to duplicate at the other schools, where students that are in our SPED vocational programs will get to learn about growing and about that greenhouse process. There will be opportunities for those students also to potentially come down multiple times a week, or a couple times a semester depending on their level of interest. And so we kind of see it as just like every age group will touch this greenhouse in some way. And really it is that growing process that what we heard when we went to Pennsylvania and we toured that facility was how important the intergenerational relationship was between the residents who are they're there every day taking care of it, as well as the students that are recurring and being able to be on that project. There's just something about that process of watching something grow that it's special in that there's a lot that is taken from both the residents and the students from having that type of relationship.
Sounds really exciting. So the growing process, is it much different than when you put a seed in the ground, and is it a shorter time frame to get to maturity?
Right, so it tends to be a shorter time process. So the plants will spend 2 weeks in it's called a nursery stage. So that's where those rock wool trays that have the seeds in them, they stay under grow lights and under water, and that's when the roots will start to process. And so after the roots develop, then they're able to go into the towers. And so the total harvesting period is only about 5 to 6 weeks.
So it really is instant gratification, especially for the younger kids who have trouble waiting for things to grow. So that would be really, really fun to see how that all fits together. Is the intent to be able to do this all year long, and will the capacity be able to feed St. John's residents without food service having to purchase additional greens?
Right, so the greenhouse will be able to function all year long. So that is because of the heated floors in Gainan Commons, as well as the cooling wall. And then we're hoping to get lights in there to help the growing process throughout the winter when the days are shorter. And yeah, the yield it does get higher in the summer and a little bit shorter in the winter, but there still should be enough yield all year round for the residents.
And are you thinking primarily greens, lettuces, salad greens, and herbs?
So that when we toured the facility in Pennsylvania, they really had a lot of success with the greens. I think our goals are to be a little bit more aspirational with some of the things. It might be phased in. That's more of the greenhouse manager and St. John's. That's an important part of this, is that we're going to have a professional there that is going to be able to make those calls. But I think we are going to be a little bit more aspirational than they are, just based on, I think our climate's different, the water, the water quality and those types of things. I think there's things that I think we learned from them that we will be able to hopefully diversify some of the things that we're able to grow in our greenhouse based on where we're located, and just we're not the first ones that are learning how to do this. We've got kind of an example to go off of.
Sure, absolutely. Well, what's the timeline? What's yet to be done to ready the space for the aeroponics, and when do you think you'll be up with production?
So yeah, that's a great question. So there are some things that I know that the part of the partnership is getting some of the, I guess it's situated to be an aeroponic education center rather than the greenhouse that it was. So there's things that work in there that I think St. John's is looking at updating. They're currently seeking funding to finish some of the, to get that fully funded so we can do so. So that's part of it. Part of it is hiring a greenhouse manager, which will be something that probably takes place sooner rather than later. They really need someone to, organize and be the professional on that. It's, again, we got to meet the person who who does it in the Pennsylvania greenhouse. He came from a landscaping background where he'd always been a green thumb and kind of got his experience there. So even though it is a newer way of doing things, there are people who have that background that is a very good foundation. So that'll be part of the process, getting the greenhouse manager. And then, those updates are kind of, purchasing the towers and those types of things. So some of those timelines are fluid, but we would think by sometime next school year that we would have some, be able to have it full, started and functioning and starting to grow things. And the one nice thing I think about it being an educational center and working with the school district too is that we have, our ideas about how students and teachers are going to interact with it. But those teachers, that's what they do. They're gonna see this, they're gonna grab hold of it, and they're gonna find ways to integrate it with what they're teaching and providing for their students. So I think that's where us as a school district are really excited to get it started and then see where it grows from them, because some of the ideas that we have are just ideas. They're going to be the ones that really figure out what's the best way to interact with this and get students on it to, I guess, supplement their education that they're getting.
Absolutely. Well, Hayden, returning back to your Platinum project, what are your aspirational goals as far as finishing and furthering your education? How does the Greenhouse Project fit into that?
Right, so I would love to have this up and running by next year, because obviously next year is my senior year. As well as I'm hoping to just grow in connections and learn about kind of what it takes for those private-public partnerships, as well as, what it takes to have community development in partnership with a nonprofit. And so I'm really hoping that this is just a really great educational experience, and it has been so far. And my Platinum project should be done by next year, fingers crossed.
Yeah, and you've really gotten a wide variety of experiences out of this. The tour out in Pennsylvania, certainly, the learning aspects, and then the making the presentations.
Right.
I understand that your presentation was instrumental at our St. John's board retreat, both the foundation and governance boards, at helping them to make a decision to move forward with this. What has that been like? And you also presented in front of the school board, right?
Yeah, and so this has been great for my public speaking practice, as well as just like learning how to present something in a more, learning how to present in a more important fashion, right? I've only given really school presentations and smaller presentations here and there, and so this is much larger than that. It's actually meaning to change a community. And so it's just been great to have those opportunities and have St. John's behind me, supporting me.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I have it on good authority that you have really done well in this project, and it would not have moved forward without a lot of your assistance. So
Thank you.
Good job on that. In our time remaining here, I'd like each of you to just share a little bit about your background with St. John's. What did you know about St. John's before you became connected? I'm going to start with Bo.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of when I probably started working with St. John's. I used to work for the apprenticeship program, so there were some conversations that were happening in my previous job about the apprenticeship fellowship program that they developed. So that was maybe like right around when I transitioned to my role now with School District 2. So I kind of carried that over into my job now as the career outreach director. So my relationship with them was I was always in the conversations that were happening in the community about economic development, about workforce development, community development. So we're just kind of at the same tables all the time. And I was a part of helping develop the apprenticeship fellowship that they've developed. And so my, relationship with them is they've always been an employer that has been sitting at that table, that's been not only active and present in it, but they've been trying to push what is possible, I think, with their community, with their own organization. So I go back to Nursing Apprenticeship Fellowship. It's going to be it's a program where people who want to become an LPN or an RN, basically St. John's helps them pursue the education piece of that in exchange for them working as a CNA throughout their, so you're working, I believe it's a minimum of 500 hours a year. Every hour you work goes, I believe it's $8 towards your tuition reimbursement. And so it's really getting those people who want to get there and maybe have a financial need, or they just, they want to put themselves in a better financial position. It puts them in that position to become an LPN or a nurse. And what I think is really crucial about this is they're working as a CNA, but St. John's has no expectation or there's no contract that ties them to continue to have to work for them once they become an LPN or an RN, which is not something you see out there a lot where, hey, I'm trying, people are trying to retain employees, and what if I train someone and they leave? They really saw it as, hey, there are people who are going to be, if we can have them work for us as a CNA for 3 or 4 years, we can help them get to where they want to go. That's an employee that we've kept for, 3 or 4, rather than, hey, we want you as a CNA for 10 years. They're really helping. It's a give and take between having the workforce that they need and then helping someone reach the goals beyond, reach their dreams, really. So there's that. I know that they offer on-site childcare, which again in the workforce development, childcare is a huge issue within our community amongst a bunch of employers, and St. John's has long offered that to their employees. I believe Hayden mentioned that she was a part of that childcare program when she was younger, so it's been something that's been here. And so they've been, again, there's employers that are having that conversation now, and St. John's has been something that they saw a long time ago that was really, so my relationship with them is they've always been almost like an employer of choice that are constantly thinking about how are we treating our employees, how are we providing better care for our residents, and how are we, as an organization, just assimilating in the community and helping grow our community. And so this project is just another one on that, like that long list of things that they're doing. Yes, because it benefits St. John's, but also there's a ton of benefits that they're not gonna see as an organization that they just believe in, because that's their organizational mission and how they fit into our community. So yeah, that's been my experience with them.
Great, thank you for sharing all of that. And Hayden, what has your experience been with St. John's?
Right, so like Bo said, I started at St. John's when I was very little. I was in their preschool program and their daycare program, and so I've been affiliated with them for a long time. And then I went to elementary school at Arrowhead, and so one of my earlier memories is going to perform our third grade musicals up at the St. John's, and so for the residents to see. And then in middle school, I started volunteering there in the summers. So I would play bingo with the residents and help with the summer concert series. And even if I wasn't volunteering at the summer concerts, I would still go. And so then when my Platinum project came up, I decided what a better place to partner with, because I've been in connection with them for so long, and it's something I'm passionate about. And so that's been my St. John's story.
Yeah, and your grandma lives at Mission Ridge?
Yeah, my grandma lives at Mission Ridge.
Yeah, she'll be tickled to see you on this program. All right, well, in our remaining minutes, as I do with everyone, I want to thank you both for being here. Thank you for your contributions to the community of Billings. Thank you for your contributions to the Aeroponic Education Center at Gainan Commons at St. John's United. And just give you a chance to reflect on what your story is. If I ran into you now on the street and said, "What's your St. John's story?" What would your response be in a nutshell?
I think mine would be, I go back, I mentioned it before, St. John's has been an employer that's always tried to take care of their employees, because having a knowledgeable, experienced workforce is going to help them take better care of their residents. So I think about just personal relationships I have with people who work at St. John's, and them checking off, having conversations with them about why do you work there, those types of things, and it's checking off all those boxes of, well, I have an LPN license and I have on-site childcare, and that's something that is so important to a lot of working parents and those types of things. So I think my St. John's story is just that those little anecdotal things about why do you work there, why are you involved with the board, why are you any interaction you have with them, there's all these people throughout the community that have their little reasons, and it's those little things that St. John's does to take care of those people. It makes collectively it makes a really big impact on our community. People being happily employed and just a part, feeling like they're a part of Billings. So
thank you. And Hayden, what is your St. John's story?
My St. John's story, I would say in a nutshell, is that St. John's has been a part of me since I was little, and it's been a part of me from every step, from elementary school, middle school to high school, and that I hope that it continues to be a part of my story. I want to be able to make sure I keep those connections that I've built throughout my Platinum project and throughout my middle school volunteering days, and continue volunteering even once this Platinum project is done.
Oh, wonderful. Well, this project really has become an intergenerational project. As a high school student working on it, as a young person in the community career, looking at development, for the community. St. John's has found its way into your lives as well. And it's not just for our residents, but St. John's touches our entire community. And again, thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you for being here today. And if somebody was interested in learning more about the Aeroponic Education Center, also known as the Greenhouse, where would they find resources on that?
Yeah, so I've been, so this partnership is something that the school district has been working on for a long time. It's got this, I've been presenting in front of our school board. I've been, talking to teachers, talking to people involved with the project. So one place where there's information is that we're providing updates during our school board meetings to try to keep our community in a public meeting informed about what how this partnership is progressing. If you have specific questions about, hey, how do I get involved? There's going to be tons of opportunities for the community to also access this space. And so if you have questions about that, contact me. My phone number is 281-5075. I'm up here at Lincoln Center right across the street. And then Carissa Welsh has been really instrumental on the St. John's side. She's also someone that you can contact on their side to potentially figure out, hey, where's more information about that. But yeah, any community member that's looking for more information about how this partnership works, or how to eventually maybe get a tour of the greenhouse and see how it's operating once it's up and running. I think myself, Carissa, or if you run into Hayden at West High, they're all great. We're resources that would be happy to tell anyone who's curious about how this is going to work, and maybe even get involved and help out. Great.
And I do think the community will start to hear a whole lot more about this as the grand opening happens at some point, we hope next year, and as perhaps funding opportunities arise to help us get the project off the ground and solidified. So if you do want more information, you can certainly go to stjohnsunited.org and find contact information for us at the foundation, and we will direct you to the right people for that. All right, so that has been another segment of What's Your St. John's Story, and we hope you enjoyed learning about new opportunities that are coming St. John's way and for the school district here in Billings. Thanks so much for watching.
For generations, St. John's has united us with its uplifting vision and lives it has touched. There are thousands of stories about St. John's. Prayers answered for a long-awaited adoption, pain-free relief after healing from injury, settling into a new home for the next phase of life, the comfort of compassionate end-of-life care, the joy that comes from volunteering, and at-home help that supports the fullest life. At St. John's, we are creating community and bringing families together. We offer many services for home, health, and family, from childcare, support for an unplanned pregnancy, and physical therapy, to home health care, senior living services, and hospice care. For all times of life, we are here for you. The heartwarming stories of St. John's are woven into the fabric of our community. What's your St. John's story?